Hello out there. We're on the air. Are we ever? Oh my goodness. Look at this. Look at this. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to everybody out there. This is the Daily Bitcoin Journey, as you can see in the title, for the first time ever. Figured I'd switch things up a little bit because, I don't know, I like switching things up. Should probably let people know that this is a Bitcoin show as well. That would be helpful. Can we hear me? Are we good? Are we live? I never know what the hell is going to happen here. No, something's not working here. What's not working? Zapstream. Yeah, Zapstream's down by the looks of it today. Well, the fasting fat dentist has figured out how to use Zapstream today, but nobody else. Sorry, Zapstream. So maybe we'll have a bigger crowd in here today. You know, we'll see. So anyways, welcome back, everybody. Sorry I was a little bit late today. Late start Monday. Don't really have a real good excuse for it, but we're here. It's good to see everybody. This is the Daily Bitcoin Journey. This show focuses on actionable and logical discussion for Bitcoiners and for future Bitcoiners. Got a great show today. Got a lot of stuff to talk about. What a day yesterday was. I titled this one actually after the Super Bowl, as we'll see soon. Yeah, Zapstream's down. Zapstream appears to be down. That's okay. That's all right. Let's check on things here. We got Killer. We got Ginger. Looks like some people are starting to show up now. We got Santino. Jesus, I'm fucking tight quarters here. We got Phil. Good morning, Phil. Good afternoon, I guess, to you. We got Cleaner Machine. We got Jay, Pura Vida. Looks like we got some bots back in the chat today. Love that. Morning, Ian. Actually hate that. Shouldn't even pretend like I love that. Hate bots. Hate the bots. But good news for us. We know bots won't be around for very much longer. Whoa, what was that? Bots won't be productive for a while longer. What was that noise? Okay, hold on here. Listening to some Tim McGraw this morning. Came up on the podcast, or on the playlist, I guess I should say. Next on the queue. Listening to some Hardy this morning, and then went to some Tim McGraw. I love Tim McGraw. Okay, let's check on how we doing here. We got 26 people in here, 10 likes. Rick, what are we doing here, man? What are we doing, Rick? Timber Crasher, good morning, my friend. Great to see you. Trump will take over Canada. Trump. Wow. Nice. George, do you ever smoke some tree? From Jay. My sponsors wouldn't want me to answer that question. No, I just actually don't have any. Well, we got a couple sponsors I guess we still work with, but things are going to be looking a little bit different in the future here for the show. I think it's so important for me. This is kind of my main mission right now, and I probably will work with some sponsors along the way, and we do right now, and the sponsors we work with right now are awesome. But I just like I like the idea of being able to talk about whatever I want and say whatever I want. So I'm working towards, that life. So that's where I want to get to. And I think I'm there now. Like, again, we got a couple sponsors on the show right now, but it's they definitely don't care what I'm talking about on here. But yes, to answer your question, I have before. A couple times. Prefer beer though. I prefer the beers. Beers and whiskey. Letha, good morning. Great to see you, Letha, this morning. Sorry the Zapstream wasn't working, but it looks like it's down for everybody today. So I guess we'll have to stick to YouTube. Do I support? This is the last acknowledgement we'll give to the bots here. Do I support a North American union? I do. I think that Any Canadian who would say otherwise doesn't know what the hell they're talking about, because it just makes so much sense. I know it'd be kind of tough for Canada to, like, depending on how it went down, but I feel like it'd be tough for Canadians to lose their country. But I mean, if you look back at history, like, borders have shifted all the time. It wouldn't be like the US is going to come and hold us hostage. And I mean, it'd be a 5-minute war probably. So from my perspective, I think that it would be a good thing a great thing for our country, actually. And I think from the US's perspective, it makes a lot of sense too, for numerous reasons, for the natural resources here in Canada, for the Arctic access, but also because, you know, they've been doing a lot over the last 100 years for Canada, like a lot. Trump makes it sound like we're ripping them off, and we probably are. But anyways, I would definitely support that. And that's the last we'll hear from Roger today. Buck 52,000. Good morning. Bitbilly's in the chat. What's up, good people? Good question. Well, you know what I just realized? We don't have the Zap stream on, and we don't even have the banner on today. Looking at Bitbilly there, he's got the second highest Zap in history of the show. Or is it? There it is. And I'm not trying to taunt him either, because it's too early in the week for really fat Zaps today. I might fall over in my chair. So that is live now. We got Arnie's wallet right here. So anytime, if you feel like supporting the show. Oh, how did that happen? We got a couple here. Phil R. Zaps 888 sats says, Phil R, please check if I found you on Signal. All right, let me do that right now, actually. I probably have. It's just Signal gets so bogged down for me. I don't know if I'm doing Signal right. Phil, I do see you there. Message request. I'll get to that as soon as the show's over here. There's a lot of messages in my Signal, as you would imagine. But it's good. It's a good thing. Morning, Daniel. Daniel's over on the YouTube today because our friend Zapstream is down. Rick, there he is. Good morning, Rick. Logan Howdy from Texas pulled my Bitcoin into cold storage over the weekend for the first time. That a boy. That a boy. Laugh Pad, good morning. Unknown Disciple. Smoking tree with a coffee is nice. Well, I can't say I do that. You guys would, it'd be a lot more entertaining of a show, I think, if I did that. A lot more. So maybe we'll do it. Maybe we'll do it one day. Maybe for 420, we'll do it. Chad says, Jordy mentioned the Titanic story a few days ago. Any books or references on that? What was the Titanic story? There's a good reference. It came out in 1997. It was a 3-hour documentary with Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet. No, for anybody, I think that was more than a few days ago, but for anybody who's wasn't here for that, the Titanic ties into the Federal Reserve, the creation of the Federal Reserve. There's a bunch of people who didn't want they didn't want central banking in the US. And there's a small group of people who did. And so they put all the people who didn't want a central bank on the Titanic, called it the unsinkable ship, made it a big, big thing. And then, of course, we know what happened to the Titanic. And then 1.5 years later, the Federal Reserve was created, 1913. Interesting. And then, of course, right around the time when all the information was about to be decentralized and spread out, the truth was about to come out about things. Well, first thing, they came out with the Titanic movie to kind of get ahead of the narrative there, which worked for a lot of years. And then they also had something happen in the early 2000s that really shook up the next decade for people. So it's been a lot of shit happen in the world, especially everything revolves around the monetary system. Everything, every single aspect, all comes back to the money. Tom, good morning. Jason, good morning. Daniel says, have you read The Creature from Jekyll Island? Chad. Yeah, it ties into that, eh? I don't know if there's any specific mention of the Titanic. There might be. I haven't read that book either yet, but plan to. Mert, good morning. All right, we'll get to actually, you know what? I'm gonna finish these comments here. I'm almost caught up. Sean says, happy Monday. Rather than buying a prepaid college plan, me and my friend allocated some sats for our kids. Exciting to think what those sats be worth in 15 to 18 years from now. That's the plan. That's the play for sure. That's the play. Absolutely. Not just with college fund stuff, but with literally every fund you have. And actually, before I get any further into it, I'll reference a podcast I did. Maybe I'll put the link to it if I remember here. But the podcast was called Bitcoin Piggy Banks. Bitcoin Piggy Bank. And it basically talked about, it was about half an hour of talking about different things you could do with Bitcoin right now instead of, maybe life insurance, instead of definitely the kids' college education fund. New roof, that's a big one. Pet fund. There's a lot of ones that I had in there where basically you just allocate X amount of sats right now, label them within your Sparrow wallet, and you can just keep funding those over time. And I talked about the couple different strategies too you could use, because these amounts will be smaller, right? So you want to be using that on Lightning. So I did, a full podcast talking about Bitcoin piggy banks and using Bitcoin as funds as opposed to the legacy funds that we have nowadays. Bitcoin is just a much, much better. And the best part about it too is that if your kids don't end up going to college, you can still, it's yours, right? I don't know the full story of like the RESP where basically you pay 100, I shouldn't say 100, but X amount of dollars every month into this Registered Education Savings Plan, RESP. And then I don't know what happens if your child doesn't end up going to university. I don't imagine you get 100% and you're able to do whatever you want with it. That just doesn't seem like that's how things work. You might get your portion back, but that would be like, it wouldn't have grown in 20 years. So if you saved up $20,000, and even if your kid didn't go to school, and so you paid into this thing for 20 years, $20,000, think about how much purchasing power you've lost in those 20 years. So you have $20,000 in fiat right now. What are you supposed to do with that? Buy a new fucking lawnmower? So you hold this fiat dollar that's basically just melting away for 20 years. And at the end of it, all you have is a bunch of cash and no purchasing power. So that's what all those funds are kind of going to be trending towards and already are. So they just don't make any sense anymore, especially now that we have something like Bitcoin. Troy, good morning. Mert says, highly recommend Lynn Alden's book, Broken Money. $1.52. I haven't read that one, Mert, but there's a lot of good feedback on that one that I've seen within the Bitcoin community. Oh, sorry. $1.52,000 said, I found an audiobook version of the Bitcoin Standard, took a road trip with the wife this weekend. She's starting to get it. Good for you. That's I don't know if that's a best way to introduce Bitcoin to somebody, the Bitcoin Standard. You kind of already have to have a financial background, I think, to enjoy that one. So your wife must then, because that's the only way that somebody would kind of get it, I think. Anyways, that's I think the Bitcoin Standard's overrated personally. I think there's better books to orange pill people. But what do I know? Bren says, guys, sigh. We live in a crazy ass world. Be kind to each other, spread love, and stack sats. That is great advice. Always be spreading love. It's very easy to spread hate and lies and bullshit online. But if you choose to spread love, I think you're just it's gonna return to you. Sailor bought again this morning. I saw that. It wasn't a real light buy either, honestly, was it? I think it was like 7,000 Bitcoin. Ahsoka. No nostr stream in my end. Yeah, there's no nostr stream this morning, everybody. Sorry. It's not working. It's down everywhere. I think there's one person streaming on there right now. I don't know how, but it didn't work for me. Bunch of timely coincidences. Yeah, that's all it is. That's what we'll chalk it up to. Hey, Daddy-O? The Titanic crashing, the Federal Reserve creation, the Titanic movie, the planes flying into buildings. Who knows? Scotty V, good morning. Good morning. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Think about not paying into any government plans for the rest of your life and just hodl Bitcoin instead. 1,000%. Oh, this makes more sense. This is even worse than I thought it was. Jason says lots of strings attached to the RESP. Must attend an approved institution. I wonder what that's about. Maybe the ones that were funded by the Rockefellers? Man, what a system we got. What a system. Letha said, I have a good book that mentions the Titanic. It's called The Deep State Encyclopedia by Really Graceful. Interesting. And Paul says, the book recommended by the homeless looking guy on one of your links is called The Falsification of History. An incredible read and has a Titanic section. Wow. Who was that guy? I remember that video. That was a great video. I followed him on Twitter after. And Mazeman says, Larry Lepard's new book is good. I like Larry. I'm a big fan of Larry Lepard. All right, let's check on the mempool. See what's going on today here. I saw one thing worth noting for sure. Actually, a couple things here. But before we do, let's bring this up again because if people want to look into that, the book is called The Falsification of History. So check that out if you're interested. And it looks like they have a section on the Titanic in the book. What happened with the Titanic, the divers that went down there a couple months ago and died? That was something I didn't really piece together. I didn't understand that, but I'm guessing it tied to something because they all do. They all do. Okay, we're currently sitting at block height 883.185. F2 pool was the winner of the last block. And if you're transacting on layer one, pretty cheap. We got 2, 1, 4, 3, and it looks like it's only 1 sat per VByte to get into the next block right now. So good time to be consolidating if you need to. Look at this mempool right now. That is dry. That is bone dry, my friends. We have 2, 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 4,000 transactions right now in the mempool. Usually there's hundreds of thousands of transactions in the mempool. There's 4,000 right now. Also, it looks like we had a difficulty adjustment upwards. No, sorry. Previous was almost 6% upwards. Wow. That's a big, big upwards adjustment. But look at this. We had, how do I move this thing? There we go. We had an unknown miner 47 minutes ago. I saw this when I logged on this morning. Unknown miner. What happened there? That's the wrong one. They've got, no, that's not right. That's not what we want. What happened there? Let's go to the block. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if we can see what kind of miner it was or not. I forget where to look for that. But anyways, this unknown miner took home 3.158 Bitcoin for their troubles. Not bad. Not a bad little block reward there for unknown miner. Okay, what does this do though? I don't think that this is correct. They've won 10 million Bitcoin. That's not right. I don't know what this means. CK pool, it looks like here. That's what we're looking at, I think. Yeah. You can see all these. So these are all the unknown miners. I guess, yeah, that would make sense because if you think about like the first, what am I trying to say here? Within the first 4 years of Bitcoin, half the supply was released. If you look at the actual schedule, half of, like, it was like it'd be 10.5 million Bitcoin were mined in the first 4 years from the Genesis block. So half the supply total was mined in the first 4 years. So if you look back at those, see, it gets pretty scarce here. But if we look back, I'm sure a couple of years, this was before all the big pools showed up, right? Sorry, this kind of, I'm sure it's hurting your eyes. But anyways, that's pretty interesting. So I guess it looks like unknown miners total have cleaned up 10 million Bitcoin through the years. Wow. 25% of the blocks have been mined by unknown miners. That's pretty cool. For a total of half the Bitcoin, pretty much. That's really interesting. I guess I should have known that, but it makes sense. Because if you look back at like the early blocks, they were all mined by unknown miners because there wasn't all these corporations and big pools that were mining Bitcoin. Hey, Nick, good morning. Good morning, Nick. BitBilly says, what's your thoughts on the Bitcoin reserve and do you care? Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely care. Like, it's going to have a massive impact on Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin. My God. Let's just walk through what I think would happen if the US, or when I should say, not if, but when the US adopts Bitcoin strategic reserve. And there's a whole bunch of different things that are kind of in the works right now, because you have the strategic Bitcoin reserve, which is like being pushed forward through Congress by Cynthia Lummis. So that's one. That's the plan to buy like 200,000 Bitcoin every year for the next 5 years for a total of 1 million Bitcoin. That's the plan. And I think that'd be the best option for the US, I think, and for Bitcoin overall in terms of like the price. Whoops. For sure, that would be the best one. The second one is the stockpile, which I don't know what that looks like. I think that has something to do with the sovereign wealth fund that they're working on right now. And that has to do with, who is it? Howard Lutnick. So they've developed, that was an executive order. They developed this sovereign wealth fund. Howard Lutnick is in charge of running it and what goes into it. And he's a very well-known Bitcoiner. He's talked about having hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. Cantor Fitzgerald, if you look into what they've done historically within Bitcoin, it's pretty big. Like, he's not messing around. So that's the strategic stockpile / sovereign wealth fund. So I think that would also be a big deal. It will include a bunch of other assets, including probably other cryptocurrencies, other stocks. It'll probably have some MicroStrategy in there, probably some gold, maybe, I don't know. But that's an executive order. So that could be reversed next time there's a unfavorable administration in there. But kind of my thoughts on that whole thing is I think they're both going to be very bullish for Bitcoin. And I think that just kind of the way things are going, if we look at Trump in the last 3 weeks since he's took office, he's moving fast and he's moving with a purpose. And I think that if we looked at the last 4 years of our life and what these next 4 years are going to look like under Trump and his team, I think somebody would have to be clinically insane to vote the other way after that. So I think both of them are going to be fairly long-term in our lifetime. Who knows though? But if it goes through Congress, that's much harder to repeal from what I understand versus an executive order. So I do think both of them will happen. I think both of them will take a little bit of time. I'm expecting the Sovereign Wealth Fund to announce they're buying Bitcoin first, because that's already been signed as an executive order. But kind of how I see it playing out, whether it's strategic reserve or the Sovereign Wealth Fund, as soon as they announce that they're buying Bitcoin is for the country, it'll probably, like, the news will happen. There'll be a big like run up quick, and then it'll probably crash down. It'll probably flatline for a couple weeks or a month, and then it's just going to go absolutely bonkers. And when that happens, the average person is going to be so far behind. Because once the US starts buying Bitcoin, it's over. For anybody trying to accumulate Bitcoin, it's over. Over. Again, I've probably said this 10 times in the last 2 weeks, but it's absolutely true. You're going to look at your balance of Bitcoin let's say you've been accumulating for the last 4 or 5 years, even 4 or 5 months, and you built up a pretty nice stockpile of your own of Bitcoin. And then the US announces that they're going to start buying Bitcoin, and you're going to take a screenshot of your Bitcoin balance that day. Not the dollar balance, but the actual amount of sats. And it's not going to go up very much from there. You take a screenshot of it because that's going to be pretty much your pinnacle of Bitcoin. It might go up a little bit, but because sats are going to be so expensive, even though you're putting in the same time, energy, dollars, you're just going to get way less Bitcoin, like significantly less Bitcoin. So that's why I think that, and it'll probably go down because you're going to have to be probably spending some of it over time, depending on what you want to do. But that Bitcoin balance will probably only go down. You'll hit a peak that day, pretty much. For the most part, there's people out there who are kind of building things now, building businesses, building things that earn Bitcoin. But for everybody else who's still trading their time and energy in terms of fiat, you're going to get way less Bitcoin. That's going to be the pinnacle of your Bitcoin life, that day. So it's going to happen regardless of what I think, what you think, but I just don't think we need to be in a rush for it to happen, because when it happens, it's over for the average person. Over. Okay, we got another Zap here. This is the only Zap stream we got running today. Unfortunately, the Zap stream is broken. So this is the only, I know it's Monday. Zaps are always low on a Monday. But we had a 88 sat Zap from an anonymous donation this morning. So thank you for that. Ian says it wasn't his BitAxe. I don't know if it was mine either. I should check probably. Although I'm always worried to open things up here while I'm live, for the computer's sake and for in case I accidentally share a screen or something. Let's see. Did we win? Could you imagine? I don't know if I would even be able to. I don't know what I would do, honestly, if that happened. I don't know how I would react to that. No, I didn't win. Shit. Oh, well. Stefan says, I think the US will more likely get a shitcoin reserve than a Bitcoin reserve, but it does not matter. Bitcoin reached from 0 to 75K without Trump. In his first term, he was very negative about Bitcoin. Yeah, I disagree with you there, Stefan. I don't think that there'll be, there won't be more shitcoins in there than Bitcoin, that's for sure. There might be some, but it's going to be focused, both of them, both the strategic Bitcoin reserve and the sovereign wealth fund, they'll both be centered around Bitcoin, with some other stuff mixed in there, I think. Sean says, is the real estate the best metaphor for Bitcoin? And what is a miner in that metaphor? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think real estate is, honestly. I think that gold is. And gold's not even, Bitcoin's 1,000 times better than gold. So, I mean, that's just a perfect way to look at where we are right now. Yes, real estate's like a $400 trillion market. That'll flow into Bitcoin eventually. Once, especially inactive assets, real estate that people are using to rent out right now, that'll all flow into Bitcoin because it just makes way more sense. And slowly people are starting to figure this out. And they will only continue to figure that out. It's not, the trend is not going to reverse. Bitcoiners aren't going to start selling their Bitcoin to buy rental homes. So it is a trend, and it's going to continue going that direction. But I don't think that real estate is the best metaphor for Bitcoin because it's not, how can I say this? Gold is, real estate is not scarce for one. Good land is. Good land is scarce. But in terms of like residential real estate, commercial real estate, you can always build more of it. You can always build up. And I don't know. That's a good question. I'd have to think a little bit more about that. I think you should look at Bitcoin or gold more comparatively to Bitcoin. And then you could say, what is a miner in that metaphor? Well, it's an actual miner. That's why I think it makes more sense. Because again, I think that the capital from real estate will flow into Bitcoin, but they're different. You can live in a, I don't know. That's a tough question. I'd need a little bit more time to think about that one, I think. But I would still go towards gold being a better metaphor, I think. So Bitcoin reaching from 75K to 100K, it's funny to claim it's because of Trump. Well, I mean, objectively, look at the price of Bitcoin the day he was voted in, and then look at the price objectively 3 months later. I'm not saying it was because of him, but it was definitely a big part of it. And I think that if you're going to discredit that, you might suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. I'm not saying, I would admit that's the one thing I would say, but the other side of that would be it probably would have happened either way eventually. But if Kamala Harris would have won, we would be in a much different spot right now overall. Just understand that with life, with society, with culture, with Bitcoin, we would be in a totally different narrative right now if Kamala won. And I again, if you disagree with that, there's a high chance that you have Trump derangement syndrome and should get it looked at. Locks guy. Wow, look at that. 5 new memberships. Oh, and we got a fat zap here. Holy. We got 9,999 sats from Fred. Thank you, Fred. Fred's a very I don't know if I see Fred in the chat ever, but Fred's a very generous donor of this show. Very underrated donor of this show, Fred. Thank you, my friend. And Locks Guy. Both these two. Thank you. Jason says, think the states front run the federal SBR. That's what it seems like. It seems that way to me. Nick says, Sats rewards used to be in the thousands. Yes, everything's going to change. Everything's going to change. Everything's going to get less and less and less. Honestly, that's why I think that if you're not taking just like 10 or 15 minutes of your day, every single day, consistently, with an alarm on your phone, if you're not consistently getting as many free sats as you possibly can right now, you're going to have some serious regrets in the future. Honestly, like I was sitting on the couch last night. We were watching the Super Bowl, and I took a poll. I think I won 35 sats on ZBD. And then I watched like 6 videos after that. I wasn't watching them. They were just on my phone playing an ad. And every video I got paid 4 sats for that. Is that a lot today? Absolutely not. Most people would consider that to be an absolute waste of time. But if you're consistent with it and you compound that and you do it every single day and you give yourself a long enough time horizon, those sats are going to be so significant in your life and in your family's life for doing nothing. Like between ZBD, Wavelake, Smiles is another one, ShakePay, Fold, Lolly, Fountain. Like you have to be taking advantage of this. Sorry, I had the wrong comment up there, but you have to be taking advantage of this time, because if you look at those sats, I'm sure in 2 years from now, those 4 sats that I get paid to watch a video will turn into 1. And then they'll disappear. Because as this thing rolls out, as more and more people get into Bitcoin, they're going to be more scarce. They're going to be worth more. And these companies will be less able and willing to give Bitcoin incentives. Daniel said, did you see that Trump announced he's removing capital gains tax from Bitcoin and stocks? I did not see that. When was that? When the heck was that? Okay, let me, what do we got here? Half an hour into this thing already. Wow. That happened fast. All right, let's start with this. I'll probably mention this a couple times, but this is breaking news. And I want to issue a challenge to everybody here today. I want to issue you guys a challenge. Let's see how you guys do. Again, I'm going to preface this with something here. And that preface is going to be, I really, really want to continue doing this show and other shows without anybody owning my voice. I think that that's so imperative. And so what I don't ask for a whole lot on here. And I've said this before. I'm never going to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you feel like you're getting enough value from it and you want to see more of it, and you feel like you need to give some back to me. That's a really good way to do it. I'm never going to ask you to do it though. But certain situations like this one, I am going to ask you for something, and we'll see how we're actually going to keep track of this on this show today. So over the weekend, we set this channel up. I'm sure most people have heard. I'm sure most people have already subscribed, maybe. But let me unveil something here. Maple Bitcoin. What do you guys think of that name? What do you think of that? I'm going to put in the chat there for everybody. It's also in the show notes. I put it at the very top of the video. So what I'm going to ask and challenge you guys to do is, we got 250 subscribers right now. I think by the end of this episode, we should be able to get to 300 based on the numbers in here, based on how supportive this community is overall. And I think we can do it. So just take I'm going to keep talking about this for about 2 minutes here. So just take the next 2 minutes, head over there right now. If you're watching on YouTube, which you are, head over there right now and check out the channel. Make sure you subscribe, support the boys here. We had a lot of people asking for this. We did a couple videos together, and there was a lot of comments in there asking for this. So we're going to try to get to 300 by the end of the episode today. That's going to be our goal. I think we can do it. I believe in you guys and girls. But yeah, this is it. I'll read this because it's kind of what we're about. So it says, 3 guys from Canada united by Bitcoin. We are contributors to the Bitcoin network, helping spread adoption across the globe. The channel will feature educational and informative content related to Bitcoin. We will also have weekly live shows with discussions, ideas, and thought experiments related to Bitcoin. The live streams will also have some time allocated for answering any questions from friends in the live chat. So that is Maple Bitcoin. Very, very exciting to me. I think that this is going to be a very big deal. Mostly because the 3 of us have very similar demeanors. We're very focused on Bitcoin. We're focused on growing Bitcoin. And I think we just kind of look at things more objectively and logically, less hype. But I think people appreciate that. I think that that's why a lot of people watch this channel too. So that's Maple Bitcoin here. Let's see how these last 2 minutes did. We did pretty good. We got a little ways to go here. I'll maybe bring this up one more time at the end here, but again, take 30 seconds here while we're kind of a little bit of downtime here, and head over there and subscribe. Plus, this is a brand new video that we put out yesterday, trading your dollars for Bitcoin. We talked about the fiat dollar. We basically called it a shitcoin, which it is, the original shitcoin, which is fiat. And we did a whole breakdown of comparing dollars and Bitcoin. I encourage you to watch it. That was a solid. And if there's anybody in your life who, you're trying to help understand Bitcoin a little bit better, send them this video. It's only half an hour long, but it basically goes line by line. And that's kind of my theory that I have around Bitcoin, is that if you took an average person and you sat them down and you put 2 sheets in front of them, and one sheet had the characteristics of fiat, the dollar that we use today, and one sheet had the characteristics of Bitcoin, but you didn't put fiat or Bitcoin on there. You just put the characteristics of fiat and Bitcoin right beside each other, no names. 100% of people would tell you that Bitcoin is a far superior currency, everything, asset. But because Bitcoin carries such a negative connotation around it, I mean, we've had 16 years straight of media, of government, of everybody who doesn't want Bitcoin to succeed. That's been their only way to defend their dollar, is to go after Bitcoin with a bunch of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt about Bitcoin. So that's kind of what we looked at here. We looked at very objectively, the characteristics of both the dollar and Bitcoin. So that's this video here. It's called Trade Your Dollars for Bitcoin on the Maple Bitcoin channel. Brand new video. These two we've kind of shared with other on our own channels, but this one's brand new and exclusive to Maple Bitcoin. 277. All right, we can do it. We can keep going here. We can get it. I think we will. Anyways, we'll put that away for the time being. But anyways, very exciting. Again, I have very high hopes for this trio. We're gonna do a lot of good. I guarantee you that. That is a guarantee. Okay, so let's move on. Thank you. By the way, thank you. I know that we haven't hit 300 yet, but for everybody who did subscribe over there, thank you. Very, very much appreciated. All right, what else we got here? Am I going to the Bitcoin conference in Vegas? I am still planning on going. I am. I haven't finalized anything yet. I haven't booked any flights, but I am still. I think that I'm going to end up there somehow. I don't know how, but we're going to end up there. Sorry, I missed a comment here. Hakusho says, feels like the Biden admin was anti-Bitcoin and crypto. It doesn't feel like that. They absolutely were. They threw people in jail. Here's the thing for me, and I wanted to get to some news today and stuff, but it seems like we're going to get sidetracked a little bit today, but that's okay. Here's the thing for me. There's a lot of Bitcoiners out there right now who are struggling to come to terms with what's happening right now. In the last 3 weeks, we've just seen line after line of positive things for Bitcoin. The Tornado Cash deal. There's been a whole bunch of these things that have been falling into place. Ross obviously being a big one, but they've been kind of falling into place, and everyone's like, things are getting better. I wonder how this is happening. They just fail to acknowledge the fact that a good administration, a pro-Bitcoin administration, makes a huge difference in how fast this thing moves. But Bitcoiners who have Trump derangement syndrome, they will never admit that, ever. And that's the post I made on Nostr the other day. I said, none of this US aid stuff, nothing would be coming out if Trump didn't win the presidency. None of it. But people will not acknowledge that. They will not acknowledge that. It just blows my mind. But I mean, that's another example of like the media. That's a perfect example of the propaganda and the media machine that is very well funded. Clearly, if you look at where the money was flowing to from US aid, these entities, that's just from taxpayers too. Imagine the world economic portion of the funding from that. So the media works very hard to push narratives. We know that. But people, when they're being pushed narratives like Trump, for example, they don't really realize it. They only recognize it in certain ways. So it's like we've had 16 years of negative Bitcoin press from the media, from the people who don't want Bitcoin. And we've had just as long, maybe a decade worth of Trump negative attention, except like times 100, because that was much bigger stakes for them. They didn't really realize how big of a deal Bitcoin is in the same kind of grand scheme of things, because again, even if Trump won, none of this, and this is important to clarify here, even if Trump won, none of this would matter without Bitcoin. None of it. If we didn't have a decentralized, transparent, fair, open ledger and this system called Bitcoin that requires real life energy and electricity to create, none of this would matter. So you need both. It's not one or the other. Bitcoin would succeed without Trump, but Trump would not succeed without Bitcoin. For sure. If that's what Trump is working towards, none of it's possible unless you have a fully decentralized currency. It's important. Santino says, what people are not factoring in is the removal of capital gains tax. When Trump does this, it's game over. Bitcoin is skyrocketing before the SBR. Truth. So is this confirmed, or is this just still rumor? Curious Bitcoin says, removing cap gains tax on Bitcoin and also promoting Bitcoin-backed loans are two great ways to separate Bitcoin from the people. True. That is absolutely true. And I agree with that. I think that this is going to be one of their strategies to help pry some of this Bitcoin away from the average person, is say, you know what? We're not going to put capital gains on it anymore. You can sell as much as you want of it. Don't worry about paying any tax on it. Sell it. As soon as you sell it, it's going to go get sucked up by the BlackRock vacuum instantly. So I think that both those things, the loans, which are going to be fully KYC'd, and the removing capital gains on Bitcoin, are going to be catalysts that separate Bitcoin from the individual. And you have to remember here that individuals currently hold 70% of the Bitcoin. The bad guys, the public corporations, the governments, the hedge funds, they own about 15% right now. Individuals hold 70. And because for the next 140 years, there's only 5% of the supply of Bitcoin that's going to be released, which is probably all going to flow towards the bad guys there. That other Bitcoin has to come from somewhere. And when you have countries, states, pension funds, everything, everybody's going to want Bitcoin, AI, it's going to have to come from the individual. It's not moving from the public entities, the governments. That's there forever pretty much. So I do think that these removing the cap gains and the Bitcoin backed loans are going to be a way to force Bitcoin away from people. Because if you ask the Bitcoiner right now, based on the current tax system and how everything works, like, would you sell your Bitcoin? Everybody would say no, because you don't want to pay tax on it. No one's going to pay a bunch of capital gains on their Bitcoin. Never. First of all, it's 100% undervalued right now. Plus, you have to pay a tax on top of that. Never. But you say, okay, there's no more capital gains. Plus, you can go to the bank, KYC your Bitcoin, and get a loan against it. There will be a lot more people willing to give up their Bitcoin in that scenario. So I do think that that's a sneaky thing that these guys are going to be working on and pushing. But at the same time, I'm for it. I just think we need to understand why it's happening. It's not for the benefit of the people. Well, some of it might be, I guess. There's probably a couple different, incentives and things they're pushing here. But for the most part, I'm for it. But we just need to understand that one of the reasons why they'll be implementing this is to pry this Bitcoin away from the individual. So that's just to take it one step further here. That's why I think that you need to be thinking about this stuff right now. You need to be looking at your Bitcoin stack, and you need to say, okay, this is my total wallet balance. These are my UTXOs that make up that wallet balance. Which of these UTXOs am I comfortable selling? And which am I comfortable going to the bank and taking a loan against? Because the day you walk into the bank and say, here's my Bitcoin, give me a loan, that Bitcoin becomes fully KYC'd, and they know you have it forever. Plus, they hold a key to it. So that's why I suggest you look at your Bitcoin balance right now. You look at maybe 50% of it, some of it that will never, ever move, and you lock that up. You recognize that UTXO for what it is. That's never going to go to a bank. It's never going to be sold. It's never going to dox your privacy. That's going to stay there forever. So these are the kind of things that you need to be thinking about at this stage of the journey here. Oh, I was caught up on comments here, but now I'm a million miles behind. All right. I don't know what to do here. All right. I'm going to look at a couple different news pieces here. What do we got for time? Hour. All right. We're okay. We are okay. Hey, we got a new member on the Patreon this morning. Nice. Yes, welcome. From Europe, from the UK, it looks like. They paid in euros. It's going to be the best, the absolute best investment you're ever going to make in your life is becoming a Living the Future member. On that note, I think it's something that everybody should be considering right now, is joining the Living the Future community for a lot of reasons. I've been talking about the importance of a Bitcoin network, but we're going to be doing things in that group in the coming months and years. And depending on what it is, we're only going to be able to talk about certain things in there. And I really want to do like an annual retreat kind of thing from people within that community, where we can talk about things that are never going to be online. There are certain topics that should only be discussed in person. So that's kind of what we're going to move towards there. But also there's going to be people like we did a presentation on Friday, I think it was, with one of the guys in the community who wants to remain public or private, sorry. But that presentation was 10 out of 10 in my opinion. And it got a lot of people thinking differently about their security setup today and in the future. But there's going to be things like this that come up. And because we're talking about security with this stuff, a lot of these conversations are only going to happen within the community there because there's an element of trust built there. You've been a member of Living the Future for 6 months now. Okay, well, you got some trust with us and with other people in the group. You want to maybe buy some Bitcoin, you want to sell some Bitcoin, you want to go back and forth. You have a certain level of trust there that you can't just do with the, somebody in the chat here. So strongly consider, if you haven't yet, if you want to be taking this stuff seriously, I highly recommend joining something like that. Plus you get the Signal chat, which will keep you up to date with everything that you need to know, information, resources, discussions. You want to ask a question there, there's nothing better than that in Bitcoin right now. If you're looking to grow as a Bitcoiner, there's no better place than the Living the Future right now. I guarantee that. And we're just getting started. That's the best part. So if you want to join, I should mention that actually, if you want to join, you can, there's a Living the Future. There's 365 days of Bitcoin. There's a bunch of different tiers you can join, but they all get you access. So consider that. Okay, let's start with this one. So as you guys may or may not know, I did a show in September of 2024, and it was titled this exact same thing. And it was titled Bet on Bitcoiners. And what inspired that was I was doing an NFL fantasy draft. And I don't know anything about football. I don't watch any football. I was just kind of in it because we were doing it with a group of Bitcoiners. So we paid in sats. We did a pool. It was a lot of fun actually. And it was very interesting to be a part of. But I had my first pick and I think I was third. No, I was like 6th or 7th overall. And anyways, I usually pick a quarterback first because they have the most points available. And that's how our scoring system was anyways. But I picked Saquon Barkley. I think he was like ranked 25th, very low. I shouldn't say low, but like compared to what my other options were. And I picked him first for one simple reason. He's a Bitcoiner. And so I said, bet on Bitcoiners because Bitcoiners get it differently than other people do. They have a much more long-term focus on themselves and their skill, their craft. And they're just built differently than other people, I find, at this stage anyways. So I said, you know what? I'm betting on Saquon. I think he's going to be the guy. He's a Bitcoiner. He understands, proof of work and what it entails. And so I tweeted that. Back in September, I said, bet on Bitcoiners with a picture of Saquon Barkley. This is the tweet right here. September 6, 2024. Nobody even liked it. Sad. I'm not big on Twitter. But anyways, bet on Bitcoiners. And you know what happened? This fella, Bitcoiner, he's been taking all of his marketing money, millions and tens of millions of dollars and putting it into Bitcoin. But what happened to him this year? He had the 9th highest running yards season in NFL history. 9th, all time. And yesterday, he became a Super Bowl champion. So whenever I wouldn't say that sports betting would be a priority here, but when you're trying to figure out, when you're navigating your own life and you're meeting people and creating businesses and meeting new friends, everything, always put your money on Bitcoiners because they are built differently. So that's what I wanted to start the day with. So I guess we're 54 minutes into it, but kind of start the day with. So big shout out to Saquon Barkley. Is it Saquon or Saquon? I don't know, but he's the only footballer that I'll ever cheer for. So they shit kicked the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday. That was awesome to watch. Awesome to watch. Every aspect of it. I like that Taylor Swift got booed. What else happened there? I love Kendrick Lamar's performance. There's some hidden messages in that performance that I don't think enough people are talking about. It's crazy to me. You go on to, I was on Twitter this morning and I was looking at some of the reactions to the Super Bowl, to the performance, all that stuff. And it just, Twitter to me just seems like so many people just say things for, specifically for engagement farming. Like they know that the take is stupid. They don't really care. They just want people to comment on it so they can get paid. Like what a broken fucking system that is. So anyways, there's people saying like, there's people talking about Lamar's performance and saying like how he did it, you know, intentionally did all this stuff in front of Trump because he knew he was there. And I was like, that was like the most, I don't know, that was the most different performance I've seen in years at the Super Bowl. There was even an American flag there. You look at the Olympics, you look at the last couple Super Bowl performances, it's all just been like demons and red and very, very symbolic, like devil worshippers. And I didn't get that vibe at all last night, at all. I think Lamar even called Drake a pedophile in one of his songs. And he said the revolution will be televised. That was one of his lines. And he finished it with turn off the TV. And then at the end of it, it said game over. So I really do. I mean, again, I'm a conspiracy-minded guy, but I feel like there was some sort of message there with Lamar's performance. I don't know. Seems like there wasn't many people who would agree with me there, but that's what I took away from it. What do you guys think? I'm going to scroll down here a little bit to see. Yeah, I mean, he didn't have a great game because basically what Kansas City done, and again, I'm not a football guy. I know the rules. My dad loves football, so I've watched football, a lot of football. But yeah, it seemed like Kansas City really put an emphasis on Saquon. They knew he was the guy to defend against. And then everybody else just took the reins from there. So they had like 2, 3, 4 guys on Saquon every time he touched the ball, but that opened up everybody else. And that's who had good games. So I would, you know, even though he didn't have like the numbers in the Super Bowl, I think that the numbers were created because of him and because of his track record and how good of a football player he's, a running back he is. Yeah, Trump got a standing ovation when they showed him. Isn't it awesome? I mean, I just got goosebumps thinking about this, but isn't it awesome just to finally have a president? They showed Trump during the anthem and he's standing there like this. Isn't that awesome to see finally? Giving fucking tribute to the military. Like, I don't know. I don't want to get too far down the line because we got lots of stuff to cover here, but like, man, if there's one big difference between Trump and Joe Biden and the thing that people should be paying most attention to, it's how much respect they have for the military and how much respect the military has for them. The military loves Trump. He basically rebuilt the U.S. military 2016 to 2020. They love Trump, and for good reason. Plus, he wants to take care of the veterans like they should, not fucking living on the streets. And if you look at it compared to Biden and how he treated them and how he was treated by them, it's like night and day. And those are the people that you need to be paying attention to. The opinions that really matter are the people who have fought for that country and any country. The members of the military, that's who you need to be looking towards to form an opinion on somebody. And I remember last time Trump was president and they did their, I forget what the football game's called. It was like, oh, it's Army versus Navy. And if you watch that clip, man, I just got goosebumps again. But if you watch that clip of Trump walking into the arena in 2019, I think it was, or early 2020, no. Anyways, they just went absolutely fucking bananas for Trump. So that's a pretty telling sign, I think, for me anyways, of what people really think about Trump. Okay, So let me get to a couple of comments here, and then we got a really interesting video to watch here. Okay, I'd share my referral code for Smiles, but I don't think it does anything, so I don't think it's worth. But anyways, if you need a referral code, just shoot me an email for Smiles. But I've been using that, and big shout out to I think it was John, a fella I've met with a couple times, and he told me about Smiles. I'd never heard of it before, but I've been using it and very much enjoying it. And so I think that everybody should be using it. You get paid for steps. Every step you take during the day, you get sats for. Plus, there's other things too. Because I'm out in the country here and there's no like service, I can't really use it to walk. It doesn't pick me up because there's no service here. So I just have to play other games on there. But it's still like probably 10, 20 sats a day from the Smiles app, which is good. Daniel says the bare minimum should be to treat small transactions like foreign currency. 100%. I mean, this is just, you don't have to really have anybody tell you that this is the law. This is just what I go under the assumption of. You got to pay attention to the thresholds in life. It's a big part of life. Thresholds. Cleaner Machine says, got my Bitcoin well account up and going, bought some, and they sent my e-transfer back. Not sure what went wrong. Just, I've actually had that happen to me a couple times too, especially with my recurring buy when I initially set it up. We got itchy eyes. But just shoot them a quick message. They'll be able to troubleshoot easily. And if it could be your bank too. I've had that happen with a couple people as well, where the bank blocked it, and then that's only thing you see on Bitcoin Well side. But they'll be able to pinpoint the error and whose fault it was. So just reach out on Bitcoin Well. There's a little chat bubble at the bottom right hand of the side of the screen. Just shoot them an email and say what happened. Posted an X that he's going to do it. Okay, that makes more sense. That makes more sense. All right, you cannot tax something that's untaxable. Agreed. Okay, let's see if here's the link once again. I guess you can't really click the link from the screen here, but we're almost there. We got 280 right now. I think we can get to 300 by the end of it. So again, if you're just showing up here, we got a new channel called Maple Bitcoin. It's Rajat. Most people love Rajat. I've heard of him. He's got a very big channel. Forrest from Bitcoin Not Crypto, and myself, Maple Bitcoin. So if you haven't yet, consider heading over there. Take a couple seconds here. Go check it out. It's on the screen here. It is in the show notes, the very top, Maple Bitcoin new channel. And we're trying to get her to, I think it's very reasonable. Probably could have went even higher than that, but I think 300 is very reasonable by the end of the show. And thank you to those who have. Yeah, mass selling, that's what I mean. And we don't want that. I don't care about the price, the short-term price or pain or anything like that. I'm more concerned with Bitcoiners losing their Bitcoin and it going into the BlackRock vacuum and never, ever coming out. Ever. Canada vibes. Yeah, 3 Canadians here. But it's not going to be like specifically focused on Canada by any means. It's going to be just Bitcoin stuff, kind of what we talk about here, just with 3 different perspectives. Subscribe. Thank you, Sabian. Appreciate that, my friend. Cleaner Machine, Maze Man. Love that. Thank you. Rajat had a great show with Guy Swan last week. I saw that. Was that a new show or was that just a replay? But either way, I started listening to it. I love Guy Swan. Yeah, BitBilly, this is something that happens with newer channels. There's been a lot of people who have been saying this. When you type it in, it doesn't show up. So you could either, again, go to the show notes. I put it right at the top of the show notes there, or type in like Maple Bitcoin Rajat, Maple Bitcoin Jor, Maple Bitcoin Forest. You should be able to find it in there. It's just because it's such a new channel and there's not a whole lot of videos on there yet. YouTube doesn't really recognize it, but thank you. Ahsoka as well. Thank you. Mr. Yolfang, good morning. Sean says, will there be denomination smaller than sats? Toshis. Actually, there already is. We just don't really know about it yet. We don't value them enough to talk about them. But there is denominations smaller than sats, because if you look at the best way to find this is if you look at like the ETFs, because they buy Bitcoin essentially for their clients and then they sell shares based on that fund, you can actually go and see how many sats per share an ETF has. And so let's say that you had a share in IBIT. You would be able to clearly see how many sats you own for that share. It's like 1-to-1. It's not like MicroStrategy where there's a premium on it, but it's 1-to-1. So if you look at, let's say you have one share in Fidelity ETF, it'll actually tell you you have one share equals 89,734.54. And that 0.54 is what you need to be paying attention to, because that is a smaller denomination than sats, because they're dividing a sat into 100 parts. Essentially, you got 50.54 there is the new denomination. I don't know what it'll be called, but nobody really talks about it. Nobody measures anything in that other than the ETFs, because they're simply not valuable enough yet. And it was the same kind of thing when we moved from Bitcoin to sats, where when Bitcoin first came out, nobody was measuring things in sats because you just measured it in Bitcoin. So we're kind of just going the same direction further down the road, and we will probably see maybe like a microsat. There's bits. I don't know. There's a bunch of different opinions on it, but anyways, they already exist. We just don't know about it. It's very true. Can't print their own Bitcoin for political favors anymore. MSATs, millisatoshis. Yeah, that's kind of what I think too. Millisats. Satino says, I think the capital tax remover will still have stipulations like holding a minimum of a few years. Yes, like Czech Republic just announced a few days ago, which is still good. I agreed. Nick subscribed. Thank you, Nick. Love that. Daniel's leaning towards the Bitcoin rodeo in Calgary instead of Vegas. Ooh, that actually does sound like a pretty good idea. But it's also hard to beat Vegas. But the thing for me is every time I go to Vegas, I promise myself I'm never coming back to Vegas. But I keep going back. It's just such a shit show. But it'll be fun. I've never been to like an actual Bitcoin conference before. My rule of thumb was that you should go through at least one Bitcoin cycle before you go to a conference. And so I have now. So I feel like I've earned it. Mazeman says you have the perfect level of paranoia. Yeah, that's kind of what, you can kind of get as paranoid as you want to. You can get as paranoid as you want to. And I don't know how much of a difference it's going to make in the grand scheme of things. You can be 0 level of paranoia, which is horrible. You can be 100% paranoid, which also I think is horrible because it kind of consumes your life. You just got to find somewhere in between. And unless you're like going to be wanted by the CIA, you're probably going to be okay. Understand how many fucking people live in this world. And understand how many people are doing much worse things than you on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis than you've done in your whole life. So just like chill out a little bit here. And I get it. There are certain people out there who need to be very paranoid, depending on what, country they're in or what groups they belong to before or whatever. But if you're somebody like me who has, I live in a pretty good country here in Canada, soon to be the US, but I haven't done anything bad. Just living. So I don't worry too much about it, honestly. You can't. You'll drive yourself crazy. Wyatt says BlackRock wants all the Bitcoin. They might even try to pump the price. 100% they will. 100%. $1,000,000% maybe even. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss any comments here. GameStop buying Bitcoin. Yeah, I saw they met with Saylor the other day. Sabian, I never filed taxes for any reason. I mean, I don't blame you one bit, to be honest with you. That's what we're going to watch here right away, actually. Daniel, this is a good on-air testimonial here. This might be a longer show today, but that's okay. It seems like the people are here for it today. Living the future is the best $5 a month you can spend. I 100% agree. And if you wanted to go a little bit further, if you're somebody who's newer to Bitcoin or just wants a more well-rounded understanding of Bitcoin, be like Letha, who's going through this 365 days of Bitcoin. And Letha's been here on this channel as long as I have been, pretty much. And before that. So she's not brand new to Bitcoin. She just wants to make sure that she has a good understanding of it. And so we do a video every single day for 2025. We're on day 41 today. So you sign up for that course, $20 a month, you get 40 videos today already. You're gonna have to play catch up a little bit. You might have to watch them on 2x speed and do 2 days for a while, but they're gonna be there. There's no rush. You can kind of do it on your own pace. But both those are available, both Living the Future and 365 Days of Bitcoin. Plus, if you get through that course, you're going to get you're going to be the inaugural graduate of the 365 Days of Bitcoin. You're going to get a nice certificate at the end of it. All right. Yeah, I agree with this. SD said that was awesome. So different than the usual halftime. Most people can afford to go, or older fan base don't know Kendrick. I loved it. I thought it was a great performance. Hey, Phil C. Good morning, my friend. President who used the big boy stairs on Air Force One. Yeah, it's true, eh? This is true. This is what we want here. This is kind of all we're looking for here in life. I don't think this is too much to ask for, to be honest with you. Great to have people in charge of the country who don't hate the country they're in charge of. What a concept. What a concept. Okay. Let's check on where we're at here. We at 300 yet? No, not quite. We got 13 more to go. We can do it. We can absolutely do it. But I want to watch this video here. This was a legendary video. And I think this is a very good reflection of society right now. And I'm not advocating for anything, but I'm just saying that there's going to be a lot of people out there who feel this way, especially in the US right now, that simply won't be making a video and posting it online. But there's a lot of people who share this exact same sentiment as this lady. Let's watch.
Sorry, I apologize for the way I look. I just worked all day. I run my own cleaning business. I am the sole cleaner. It is me. I do everything. I work my ass off to be able to provide for me and my husband. Our kids are grown, moved out. It's hard, you guys. It's hard to want to continue to do what we do. My husband has a business as well, and pay our taxes to a corrupt piece of shit government. It's hard. It's really hard. We owe a big chunk at the end of this month for last year's taxes. A big chunk. Tens of thousands of dollars. A big chunk. And at this point, I'm going to send them something, and it ain't going to be the fucking money I work my ass off for. So that Angelina motherfucking Jolie's bitch ass can go stand next to fucking Zelensky and take a fucking photo op. Or Ben motherfucking Stiller or Nancy fucking Pelosi. Fuck you. Fuck you all. Fuck suck a dick. I fucking hate you. I hate the government. I hate celebrities. I fucking hate you. Like, what the actual fuck? We are being fucked, and more fucked every fucking day. And Democrats are on here talking shit about fucking Trump and Elon. You're welcome. You're fucking welcome. Because guess what? Without Trump and Elon, we wouldn't know this, and it would continue to fucking happen. But that's okay, because the big scary orange man isn't in office. Fuck you too. I am so done. Goose Fraba. Fuck everybody who didn't vote for Trump or who isn't supporting this, because you're a piece of shit too.
I'm not messing with Jenny. Oh, that was awesome. Right in the middle there, where she just had a bit of a Tourette's moment there. Suck a dick. Awesome. But the reality is that there's so many people who feel that way right now. So many people who feel that way right now. And it's hard. It's really, really hard to have that sort of mentality and show up every day and send half your fucking paycheck to these reptiles and criminals in our governments. The thing is, most people who are watching the show, we probably known this stuff was happening for 4, 5, 6 years and beyond that. But now it's like right in your face. Like if you're still looking at this and like doing nothing about it, you're a fucking coward. And you could do it however you want to. It doesn't have to be like making a video on TikTok or having a YouTube channel or anything. But if you're just kind of going about your life knowing that half of your paycheck goes to exactly what she was talking about there for Beyonce to play at an event for the Democrats or for Ben Stiller to take a picture with Zelensky, you're okay spending your time and energy funding that nonsense? Now that's just like the very tip of the iceberg. Like if we had one of those memes with the iceberg, I would say that the US aid and what we've seen so far would be the very tip of it. And what's underneath there, which is probably coming soon on this pace that we're on right now. But wow. So what happens? That's the next question is like, what happens now? Because I've listened to dozens of podcasts, majority of them Bitcoin podcasts, but I've listened to dozens of podcasts over the last couple of weeks with the exact same message. And it's kind of ironic, right? The timing of this whole thing where people are getting their tax returns, they're preparing to tell the government how much money they made this year and sending it in a big payment to them so they can keep paying Ben Stiller. Who else did she say? Jennifer Aniston? I don't know, whoever it was, to go take pictures with Zelensky. Then we find out that Zelensky actually lost about 75% of their money that they had. Where'd that go? They were getting about 10 billion a week for the last couple of years. Just disappeared. And you're okay just showing up every day, going to work, and half of that going towards funding that? People that hate you, people that hate other human beings. Like, when is enough enough? That's the question. Because again, a lot of us have known this has been happening for a long time. But you actually had to go out of your way to find it. That's the difference here. This stuff is literally being jammed down people's throats right now, on TV, on their phones, everywhere, at work. And yet people are still, there's a certain segment of the population out there who, in my opinion, are lost and gone forever. But they're still defending the Democrats and these people. And I'm not saying this is like a one-party issue. There's a lot of bad Republicans out there too. But if you're going to defend these people and say, we don't want to see what they're spending our money on, you're a fucking joke. You're a coward beyond. You are mentally ill. You have a serious, serious problem. And there's no other way to put that. So I think that as more and more of these videos come out, as more and more is shown to people, I really hope that this trend continues. But like it starts person by person. That's why I love when Jeff Booth says, it's not us versus them. It's just us. We get to decide this stuff. If we decide that, you know what, maybe we don't want to keep funding terrorists that are blowing up kids in other countries. Maybe we should stop paying into that. And you do that. And then your best friend does that. And then a few of us do that. And then all of a sudden, that's how things happen. That's how change happens. You don't wait for somebody to tell you to do something on a TV before you actually take action for something. So I don't know. This is, I mean, we're kind of way behind in the comments here, but this one's on my screen right now. There is no authority. There's only belief in authority. Grow a pair. Minimum. So great video there. Very important. We'll see. We'll see what plays out, I guess. That's all we can do at this point. See how it plays out. Okay, well, maybe skip that one today. What do we got for time? All right, we got a bit of time left. Let's watch this. I should have talked about it before, but this is pretty cool. Let's watch this video. You guys might recognize at least one face on this screen, but I got a different message here too afterwards.
One, Jack, this guy is going to change the world, by the way, but we'll hop on that a little bit later. It's a special dude.
You're going to be taking 100% of your marketing dollars, which is, by the way, you're like a well-known dude. People like you, brands like you. You do a great job on the marketing side, and you make 8+ figures in terms of marketing dollars. You're going to take 100% of that in Bitcoin and specifically try to insulate yourself from all of the inflation and the issues with cash.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that, especially through Strike also too. I feel like that was my mind. That was my motto before coming into the league is, just live on my marketing money. And now that I see with inflation and learning so much about Bitcoin and surround myself with a great team and be able to learn from guys like Jack. So I think it's just be the smart thing to do and the right thing to do to start taking my investment money through Bitcoin and through Strike. One, Jack, this guy is going to change the world, by the way, but
So that was Saquon Barkley, in case you didn't know. The guy we were talking about before, the newest Super Bowl champion, taking his marketing money in Bitcoin, tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars, and putting it into Bitcoin at the advice of Jack. So the one thing I took away from that is this was a couple of years ago, granted, but this is now one of the most influential players in the NFL, in probably the biggest league in professional sports. And he's attributing this decision and his mentality and mindset and investment decisions on Jack Mallers. So if you think regardless of what you do in Bitcoin or, what you're involved in, don't underestimate the power of what's being built right now. These are going to have massive implications. They already do, but into the future, this Bitcoin network and this Bitcoin community and the people who are on Team Bitcoin today, we're the ones who are pushing this thing forward. And historically, yes, you might look at a guy like Saquon Barkley and say, yeah, top of the chain. But then you have him actually giving acknowledgement and looking upwards to a guy like Jack Mallers, which is pretty cool, which is pretty fucking cool in my opinion. So again, that was a couple of years ago before Saquon really took off like he has. But still, I know that they're still good buddies. Jack had him on his podcast a little while ago. And I think Jack was at the Super Bowl yesterday as well. So just goes to show, don't underestimate yourself in this world. That's for sure. But I want to give a couple shout outs here. We had a couple more sats sent in. The Zap stream is down today, so we haven't received any zaps today outside of the YouTube. And we had an 88 sat zap, anonymous, and 420 sat, also anonymous. So thank you for that. Mucho appreciate. All right. So what do we got here? I think that's all we're going to... I was going to show something else today, but maybe we'll do that tomorrow. We'll get to some comments here, I think. Looks like we got a long list. M. Vincent says, Emory University added 15.8 million of Bitcoin, their endowment in October. Austin University added 5 million yesterday. This is big. A lot of stuff happening like that, my friends. Actually, you know what? On that note, let's look at this one because this one ties into that a little bit. Look at this chart. This is the old whales versus the new whales in terms of accumulation. So look at this. These are the new whales here. Look how much they've been buying for the last year, starting about here. The new whales are in purple. So the whales have pretty much outgrown the old whales. The new whales have outgrown the old whales in the last year alone. Almost looks like they're almost triple. So this is all the new money that's flowing into Bitcoin right now. And the average person is still scratching their head about it and not buying Bitcoin just because they don't understand it. Like they have a good understanding of how their phone works or how the banking system works today or how their credit card works. That like they have a good understanding of that. So they're okay dealing in that, thinking that they have a good idea, but all that they have an idea of on is what they've been told for the last 20, 30, 50 years. But what they're not being told right now is this. The biggest money in the world is flowing into Bitcoin as fast as they possibly can. And that's what I said on with the podcast with Bodie on Thursday. I said MicroStrategy is basically like the canary in the coal mine right now. It is the sign, it is the indication that all this big money is flowing into Bitcoin right now. Because why is MicroStrategy so popular right now? It's because it's giving a very easy highway to Bitcoin. This big money cannot buy and hold Bitcoin themselves. They just cannot do it. But they're allocating a shitload of capital to MicroStrategy to buy Bitcoin on their behalf. They're willing to pay a premium on that. All of their offerings have been oversubscribed. There's so much demand coming from the big money in the world right now. And if you just simply look at MicroStrategy, they are the canary in the coal mine. They're what's telling you what's coming here. And unfortunately, the average person doesn't know what Bitcoin is. They don't understand it. They don't even know what MicroStrategy is. But I mean, that's kind of our job, is to push this thing forward. And that's why this channel exists, because, you know, every day there might be a couple new Bitcoiners who stumble on it. And same with Maple Bitcoin. It's the exact same kind of thing. We're really, really trying to help the average person before the US government shows up here. Speaking of Maple Bitcoin, nope. We got 289. Look at that. And I'm thinking the majority will be from this chat today, but I'm sure there's a couple stragglers as well outside who aren't watching the show right now. But the goal was by the end of the episode here to get to 300. So we just need 11 more people. If there's 11 new folks that have just joined, this is our new Bitcoin channel. Bitcoin only. Very focused on Bitcoin only. And I think this is going to be one of the bigger channels that exist in YouTube and Bitcoin. So you're an early adopter. You might as well early adopt the Maple Bitcoin channel. Plus, if you subscribe, make sure you turn on the notifications too. I guess that helps reach more eyes, gets in front of more people. Plus, then you'll be notified when we're going live and when we post new videos. So in the search, type in this. Oh, okay. I didn't know that either, Rick. That's good info. So if you type in the @ symbol ahead of it, yeah, because that's the username. That's a great point. So we're going to get to 300 by the end of the stream today. I know it. We're not going to cut off until we do. And we got another zap, 88 sats. Thank you. Anonymous. I love that. Okay, and Jason says the link in the chat took me right to it. So let me put that in there for people just to make it super easy. Zero excuses here for you. Look at this, Jay. Thank you, BitBilly. Got it and subscribed. Thank you. Jay says, I'll be launching my first Bitcoin-only business in April. Wow. Jay, if you want me to help promote it on the channel, just shoot me an email. Glad to do it. That's what I want to be doing. I want to be supporting people within this community who are starting businesses in Bitcoin. That's what I want to be supporting. I don't want to be owned by any Trezors or Ledgers or fucking FTXs or anything like that. I want to help people like Jay. And so that's why when you're sending sats in, that they're absolutely vital to this channel going forward. Because again, I don't want any big deals with anybody who I don't necessarily want to be owned by. Bitcoin Manitoba meetup tonight in Winnipeg. Discussion on mining. That'd be interesting. I can't make it there, unfortunately, but I saw a Rajat interview with Leon Wankham. Interesting how he said the mainstream democracy is basically socialism. Got me thinking when Trump said republic during 120 compared to Biden saying democracy. 100%. Even I understand that. And I'm not even American. There's a big difference between a Republican and democracy. Democracy is a complete illusion. Complete illusion. But the US is a republic and needs to get back to that as well. This lady rocks. Yeah, she was awesome. I love that. Wyatt says, I've definitely raged like this a few times because of the government. Me too. Me too. Hey, Juan from Palm Beach. Good morning. Oh, man. Phil, I had a conversation with a buddy last week. and he was talking about Trump and how bad the tariffs are going to be for Canada. And I was like, the whole reason why these tariffs are coming into place, the whole reason why Trump has any sort of leverage is because our government has pretty much abandoned our economy for the last 20 years. And I said, like, we have some of the highest taxes in the world, and why are we paying them? And I said, nobody paid income taxes before 1913 or 1903, whenever it was. And he's like, well, there was also no hospitals and roads before 1903. And the sad thing for me is, like, this is not a guy who's like I wouldn't consider him to be a normie. Like, he has Bitcoin. He's a very hard worker. He's a great guy. He doesn't like Justin Trudeau at all, like most people here. But he still thinks like that. It's fucking nuts. Paul says, Canada is no better. Global affairs had to hide their sight and their corruption. Our country is ripe for slavery and takeover. 100%. I don't think it'd be slavery or takeover, though. I think it would just be like an honest agreement of like, hey, we have the ability to make your life way better. Do you want to do it or not? And unfortunately, most people, that's who it was. Unfortunately, most people would say, no, I'd rather just keep going here. I hate change. I don't want anything new. Hate Trump. This would be a big one. Doge going into the Pentagon. That's probably the next one, it seems like. These guys aren't messing around, though. Like Trump said, he's going to move fast. He has been moving fast. That's for damn sure. Yeah, I think that, once all this information comes out, it's going to take some time. But I really believe that there are going to be some reparations to the people who have funded this bullshit for the last 50 years. I really do. And I don't say that because I think it should happen. I think people will demand for it to happen, and they should, especially in America. I think America will be the first ones to fight back. America, and I've said this on the show a lot before, but like without America, I think the world would have fallen already. And it's not just because of Americans themselves, but it's because of the Republican, of the Constitution. And I know it's been abandoned pretty much for the most part, but there's still a couple things in that Constitution that basically protect people from the government. And one being firearms. And I think if that somehow disappeared, we're toast. Even though it isn't in just one country, US, in my opinion, is the most influential country on the planet. And when they have the ability to defend themselves against the government, that's the only thing that's held this thing up to get us to where we are today. TikTok is everything. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I mean, I agree with you here, but I also don't. Wyatt says, if I stop paying taxes and insurance, my life would get more difficult, so we have to keep paying, unfortunately. I don't agree with that. I really don't. There's I don't know. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but like there's things you can do for sure. And taxes were not a thing before early 1900s. We've just kind of come to accept them in our lives. But again, I think the taxes are going away. Eventually, I've been saying that before Trump took office, because it just makes sense. There's a lot of things lining up in the world that would probably lead down that road either way, with or without Trump. BitBilly says, I pay over $50,000 a month in tax, and I have have for many, many years. I can't even imagine what all I've funded all these years. Oh, I know. I was listening to, I forget who it was. It might have been Gary Cardone, actually. I've been enjoying his stuff lately. But he was talking about this yesterday. And he said, like, it's morally wrong for people to be paying taxes knowing where that money's going to. It's morally wrong. So if you look at it that way, I mean, it makes total sense. If you understand where your taxes are going to and what kind of insanely criminal activity that's leading to, that's morally wrong. And if you're just okay with that, I think you're part of the problem. All right. What else do we got here? Oh, strikes. I didn't even know strike was a thing. I didn't know it was live yet. I haven't bought any of those shares yet. Probably won't. But anyways, taxes have always been 100% voluntary. Stop reporting yourself to counterfeiters. Good advice. Actually, I think Robert Breedlove came out with an interview last week. I haven't watched it yet, but there was a guy talking about how taxes aren't enforceable if you know what you're doing. And hit the bell. That's good. Good point. I think I missed that, but hit the bell on the Maple Bitcoin because it helps. Timber Crusher says, I don't even own a home and my only asset I own as a Zoomer is my truck. The government steals 1/5 of my entire paycheck each year. Fuck these guys. No wonder no one is having kids. I'm being robbed. 100%. 100%. Troy says supply shock going to move us a step up. Yep. Going to be a big step. I agree. Buck the system, buy Bitcoin, grow a garden, touch grass. Great advice here. Sounds like everybody's on the same page for the most part. Okay, let's give away a little bit of Bitcoin here because we had a good show today. The zaps were down, but we powered through it. Well, kind of down. We had one fat zap today from our guy, from one of our main supporters here, quietly, Fred. Thank you, Fred. You helped my very low paycheck showing up to work today. All right, let's give away a little bit of Bitcoin here, folks. Oh, sorry, Jason. I missed your comment there. 2 million Albertas decide to secede and Canada's done. Probably not wrong. Alberta provides a lot of the resources here in Canada and funding to the government. All right, get your phones out, folks. Get your phones out. Somebody's going to win some Bitcoin here on air. All right, let's bring this up. Share this. Man, I remember when I first started my channel, I was so bad at sharing screens and stuff, but we're getting better. Can we zoom in this a little bit? I don't know if that'll actually work or not, but anyways, these stats are courtesy of our friends at the Bitcoin Well. They are the best place to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin if you need to, swap Bitcoin, recurring buys, pay your bills, everything. They're on Team Bitcoin, not Team Government. They get the lowest fees in North America. And this website here is the best platform that exists in Bitcoin. So you got features that are available nowhere else, and including the swap feature. So if you're in Canada, if you're in the US, make sure you get yourself a Bitcoin Well account. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, bitcoinwell.com/Jor. You get 5 of these tosses. So let's do one here. Ready? Set. Go. Who will be the victor today? 210 sats. We're on an absolute 210 sat coldie here. Sad. But still 210 sats. So thank you, Bitcoin Well, for that. They do not sponsor the show. They do not pay me anything. I'm just a very happy customer. I love using Bitcoin Well. It's all I use to buy Bitcoin. And they give some sats to the community here. So it's good to support the people who support us. Good lesson in life, I think. So if you don't, I know that most people already have set up an account and love using Bitcoin Well, but just in case you don't, bitcoinwell.com/Jor. Bitcoin might be still alive, but the altcoins are completely dead. Yeah, that's one thing I noticed last night, actually, at the Super Bowl. If you look at the last couple of years of like Super Bowl ads and stuff like that, like there was a lot of altcoins, a lot of Bitcoin exchanges, a lot of other Bitcoin and crypto related companies advertising. Last night, zero that I saw anyways. And I wonder why that is. I wonder why that is, because we've never had a more favorable administration in terms of like regulation and crypto actually, being accepted by government. And all of a sudden that happens and nobody's promoting it anymore. I wonder why. I wonder if it's because people have figured out that altcoins are basically just a giant scam and a Ponzi scheme. And I think people have kind of come to that conclusion. It took a lot of time, but we finally got there. So it's good to see either way, because we don't need people going down the wrong roads. Part of why this channel exists, honestly, is so that when people search Bitcoin and stuff, they, you know, come to somebody who's talking about the right stuff, in my opinion. What do we got here? We got a new Zap. Says, I own an escape room in Texas that takes Bitcoin on Lightning. Cheers. Sent in 88 sats. We had a lot of 88 sat donations today. So thank you for that. Very, very much. Okay. Sabian, some good advice here. Says, stand on common law and stay away from, what does that say? Admiralty? I don't know how to say that. Law, aka US UCC commercial law, if you don't wish to do business. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that I've seen through the years about common law and how it's pretty much all a scam. Anyways, sorry, I just got a text here from somebody who's in the chat. It's all good. We're okay here. So I think that's it for today. We're very, very, very close to, we're very close. I think we can do it here. I think we can push this over the edge. We got 294, and I don't mean to be spamming you guys here. I think that this is going to be a lot of value for people. I think, you know, if you're going to subscribe, you might as well just do it here. And let's get this thing growing. I think this is going to be a very, very, something very, very big. So 294, I think by the time we shut her off today, we might get to 300, but either way, we did very good. So I wanted to share that with you. I won't be talking about it as much going forward, but to everybody who did go over there quickly and subscribe, it's a very easy way to support this channel and kind of what we're working on here. Cheap too, free. So once again, just type in search Maple Bitcoin. Actually, you could put, you got to put at Maple Bitcoin there. But anyways, this is the kind of stuff that shows up right now. So we got to beat the algorithms here. We can't be having Maple Finance come up here. Oh, we're fourth down. We're doing okay. So there it is. Thank you, Maze Man, for putting that back in the chat there. Very much appreciated. So I think that's it for today. I wanted to watch another video, but we're kind of out of time here. We're already hour 43. So with that, I would say just a couple things here. Number one, if you are considering joining the Living the Future community, I think we have 2 spots left now in the chat. And once we get to 100 members, 100 people in the chat, we're going to cut it off. So consider that. If you're interested in taking this Bitcoin stuff seriously, if you want to grow your network, if you want to grow your knowledge, I mean, if you do want to grow your knowledge, I would suggest the 365 days of Bitcoin. But just being in the chat, just being around Bitcoiners, talking, even if you don't ask any questions or contribute to it at all, you can just sit there as a fly on the wall and see what people are talking about. You'll probably learn a lot just by, you know, seeing what people share, seeing what people are talking about. So, and again, going back to the trust aspect, the proof of work, the earlier you join these type of things, the less you procrastinate, the much better off you're going to be when you really need it. So start thinking about this stuff. This is, I know it's fun to look at the prices and everything that's happening, all the demand coming into Bitcoin, but this is like the time now where we need to be really building our foundation out in Bitcoin. And that involves our Bitcoin network, that involves our Bitcoin security, it involves our Bitcoin inheritance planning, it involves all of this stuff, UTXO stuff. This is the time you need to be building your foundation. If you want to hold on to this asset and have it for the next 20, 50, 100 years into the future, it's all based on your foundation that you build right now. So spend a little bit less time caring about the price and spend a little bit more time building your network, building in Bitcoin, and learning about security, about inheritance, start thinking about this stuff. It's absolutely imperative. Josh says, morning, Jordan, late today. Didn't see a Zapstream link. Yeah, it's the Zapstream's down. We've been hurting financially today. It's okay. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully. But this thing is here still. So if you want to, if you like the show today, if you got any sort of value from it, feel free to send some back for our guy, Arnie. He got all the sats today. So once again, thank you to Phil. Thank you to Fred. Thank you to an anonymous Zapper and a bunch of 88s in there today. So thank you, everybody. Very much appreciated. Monday's usually a slow on the Zaps. So anyways, that's it. We'll be back here tomorrow, I believe. Yes. Wednesday, we're going to do a private show. It's another reason to join. Private shows are Wednesday for the members only. Great chance to come and ask some questions, really dial in on things, focus on a few things, talk about things we can't necessarily talk about on the channel here. And so that'll be Wednesday. So be proactive, get yourself become a member of Living the Future, and thank me later. So thanks, everybody. I very much appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who subscribed to the Maple Bitcoin channel. And it looks like Clean Your Machine was the 88s. Thank you, Clean Your Machine. Much appreciated. So have a great Monday, everybody. And we'll see you right back here first thing tomorrow morning. Bye-bye. Here comes Arnie. We might as well see him before we go. There he is. He knows he's a smart guy. All right. See you, everybody.